Good afternoon and welcome to the Lakeland Rotary Club. My name is Nate Dunham and I thank you all for being here today. Looks like we have a full house. All right, I'm going to bring up Mike Loudon for our invocation, Pledge of Allegiance, and reciting of the four-way test.
Thank you, President Nate. We've come this far by faith, trusting in your word. Thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for the privilege that we have as citizens to vote. And thank you for those who are willing to enter into the arena and stand as candidates. We pray that at the end of this day, those who are victorious would be humble, and those who have been defeated would be comforted. Thank you for their willingness to stand for election. Thank you also for this Rotary Club and for an excellent program today. And we pray that you would bless this food to our body's use and us to thy service. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our four-way test of the things we think, say, or do: is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Remain standing for a song. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, or purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. And now here he is, the one, the only, Nate Dunham.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, now for our introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians, Andrew Troller.
Looks like we are starting Mr. Michael Huff today.
We have with us today a returning member. If you would stand up, please, Christian Heacock. Thank you.
Linda Jazar.
Hello, everyone. I have with me today Carl Cox, who's a program director for the Wilson House, which is a hope for homeless and alcoholic or addicted persons. And he is nominated for membership in the club.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce Kyle Freeland. Kyle's a former member of our club. He is currently a commercial lines producer for Haycock Insurance.
That's all we have, President.
All right, thank you. And now for Happy Dollars, Cody Cheek.
Happiness never goes out of style, right? Who's happy?
I'm very happy. I have an 18-year-old granddaughter by the name of Natalie. And when she was 3 years old, she had E. coli and developed a terrible problem with her kidneys. In fact, she almost died. Her kidneys have been failing through the years. And for the last year, she's been on the transplant list from Mayo Clinic. And they called last week and they have a kidney for her. So she'll.
I want to see you follow that, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, this is at your insistence.
There you go.
No, I'm pleased to have made my contribution to Know and Grow today. So
thank you.
Thank you. District Gala is taking place tomorrow night, and it's sold out. No more room. And I want to thank everybody in the club that some sponsored new members so we can get them there. Some sponsored the event itself. So thank you all, and I'll have a list next week and more happy dogs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Hi, I'm Linda Bagley Wiggs. 36 and a half years ago, I married Howard Wiggs, and that's not the anniversary, but I got 3 sons immediately. The oldest was 18. He is now a grandfather, so I am a great-grandmother.
This is indeed a season to be thankful, and I am absolutely grateful for the melodious voice of prayer today, that it didn't come from me. Thank you.
We got you down next week, Stacy. Don't worry.
Don?
Thank you, Cody. A reminder that this week we have 2 events for veterans by Rotarians. Friday morning is at the Heritage Baptist Church, the annual Rotary Veterans Appreciation Breakfast. So please come out. If you're not a veteran, it costs you $10. If you're a veteran, you get to eat free. And Saturday morning, we'll have the annual Veterans Ceremony. This year, very special monument to those World War II Polk County of African Americans who served. There'll be a monument at the World War II Plaza. And Greg Robinson, our own Rotarian, will be speaking about the Rotary support at that time. So please attend. We got the parade that'll wander through downtown, 11 o'clock to around 12. So hope to see you there.
I just want to let you guys know how happy I am that last night we had an unbelievable experience. Our STARS graduation class had an opportunity to be part of the president's meeting and dinner that was just unbelievably executed, and the stories that we heard and the experience that were shared, it really gave a full circle understanding of what Rotary is to all of us who are new to Rotary. And I know that our hearts left feeling incredibly filled and warm, and boy, was it special. So I just want to thank you all for that opportunity.
Everybody's happy. I love it. Table to table. Okay, I'm happy, one, because I got to go to the past president's fireside chat last night, and they even let me speak. The other thing is I have a little Salvation Army bell for a little announcement. I am happy that we have our ringing dates now assigned. Our main dates to be ringing this season will be December 13th, that's a Monday, through Christmas Eve. So be thinking about your schedules so when you can sign up. Also, we have sort of a preseason day that we can sign up, and that is Friday, December 3rd. That's also our day. So be thinking about it, and the schedules will be going up. Platforms should be coming up soon where you can sign up online. One other thing is I did speak to the production manager of the Yardstick Company, and he said that they weren't going to be making them any longer.
Oh, man, why are you trying to take my jokes? That one was so bad it didn't make my list.
I have $2 today, and one is for my oldest grandson who will be getting married on December the 12th, 12/12/21. And then I just want to mention I happen to be a Georgia Bulldog fan.
Anybody else?
All right. Thank you. Mark Davies, if you'd like to come up and sing a solo.
All right, good afternoon. Today's song is going to be Home on the Range.
That's my song.
That's going to be number 35 on page 49.
Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
Second verse.
How often night, when the heavens are bright with the light from the glittering stars, have I stood there amazed and asked as I gazed if their glory exceeds that of ours. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
Thank you, Mark. All right, Gary, did you want to come up and speak?
Absolutely. After that, I just want to thank everybody. I was the only one singing with Mark on the second verse. You know, that's the state song of Kansas, and so you all learn it now. Today's program sort of kicks off 2 weeks of veteran events, celebrations, etc. And I encourage you take advantage and be participants as much as you can. We start off today with here in our club with my good friend Richard Wilder, who's going to talk to you about Buffalo Soldiers. And you're going to hear more about Richard, but I can't tell you about anybody that has a bigger heart than Richard does. A Vietnam veteran, and he spends all of his time helping veterans. Don told you a little bit about what's going on Friday with the Veterans Breakfast. That night, Friday night, we'll have his first Friday, and we may have as many as 5 different groups from around the state of Buffalo Soldiers that will appear during that event. Saturday, of course, is the ceremony in Veterans Park and the parade. Then next Tuesday, our program will be Phil Mowry. Phil is going to talk about the history of the American Legion, his involvement, what it does, what it's about, and we'll have more to say about that. But it's some things that it's an institution that has deep significance in our country that many of you may not be aware of. To round out the week, there's other events going on. Kaiser University is sponsoring an event on I believe it's the 9th. And Southeastern is also sponsoring an event out at Southeastern on the 11th. And there will be a number of other events around the county. So take advantage. It's particularly important at this juncture because we've got a lot of Afghan and Iraq veterans who having some problems right now. And we're not immune from the ravages of suicides that are affecting that group. This county's been impacted as well. So if you see an Iraq or Afghan veteran, thank them for their service, thank them for what they did, and this is a particularly appropriate time to do that. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you, Gary, and we appreciate everything. Oh, no, we're not doing that. We appreciate everything you do for veterans, not only for this club, but for our community. Thank you, Gary. Okay, a few announcements. Know and Grow. Next week is our second installment at Philip O'Brien. That is the 8th, 9th, and 10th, 5:30 to 7:30. We have 8 or 9 volunteers already. We could probably use 5 or 6 more. So check your calendars, and if you can make it, please sign up. You can do that through the website. Also through the website, you can go ahead and make your donations if you are so inclined. So just scroll down and you'll see different giving levels, and please feel free to do that. Mark your calendars. December 2nd, we are doing the Christmas parade again. Yes, the details will be coming out next week, but we are doing it December 2nd at Hughes Place again. So if you see him, please thank him for allowing us to do that. It's one of the, I think, longest and greatest traditions we have is doing the Christmas parade at that place. And we certainly couldn't do it without him allowing us to use his space. Okay, now if Lydia Boyd and Michelle Emerson Lewis would come up with your sponsors. Couple of fun facts on Lydia. She's the youngest person to become a Schwab franchise owner and also a female, so double whammy for her. Her and her husband started their own jewelry store 10 years ago with her own personal collection, so I'd like to see that collection. She's originally from Kalamazoo, Michigan. It really does exist. She loves tacos. She eats them every day except Taco Tuesday for some reason. And she is a big fan of old school music, Beach Boys, Roy Orbison, and Frankie Valli, thanks to her dad. And she's one of those people that starts Christmas songs and Christmas decorating on November 1st. Doesn't even give Thanksgiving a chance. It's too bad you're missing out. And Michelle Emerson Lewis, she holds a doctorate in sociology from Georgia State University and a master's in criminal justice from Northwestern University. She's been teaching since 1999 and is currently an assistant professor at Michigan State University. In 2008, not only did she marry her fellow Rotarian Jason Lewis, she also moved from Atlanta to Denver. In 2015, she moved to St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. While there, she joined her first Rotary Club, the Rotary Club of St. Thomas, where she was club secretary. In 2018, she moved to Tampa and joined the Tampa Midtown Club, where she was president in 2020 and 2021. She's volunteered for numerous victim service organizations, including as a victims advocate for the, how do you say that? Arapahoe, I would have never got that, Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office in Colorado. She enjoys playing tennis and going to Tampa Bay Lightning games, and she's also found her newest passion and started a business as personal health coach and trainer this year. Okay. Michelle and Lydia, it is my pleasure to welcome you into the Lakeland Rotary Club. You are joining the oldest service organization in the world, an institution begun in 1905 by Paul Harris and 3 other businessmen in Chicago. Today, Rotarians number 1.2 million members in 34,000 clubs in more than 200 countries. The Lakeland Rotary Club was founded in 1918, the 6th club in Florida. For the past 103 years, this club has served this community and others throughout the world in need, growing to its current membership of nearly 200 members, one of the largest in the state. You are joining a club with a proud tradition and continuing commitment to service above self. We invite you to get to know all of our members through fellowship and service and have a little fun while doing it. You will be provided the opportunity to learn about our community through weekly programs and serve on various committees dedicated to Rotary's ideals. Whether you prefer local or international service projects, you will have ample opportunities to serve. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our newest Rotarians. You are adjourned. Okay, and now for our program. Rick Maxey, would you like to introduce our guest?
Thank you, President Nate. And I want you guys to know if you see me treating him harshly, it's because of the pictures that he put up from the fishing trip.
Rick caught more Z's than he did fish.
I am truly honored to introduce our guests today. I met Richard Wilder shortly after moving to Lakeland out at his Leaning W Ranch. and got to hear a little bit about what he does in the community, what he does as a member of, and now president of Buffalo Soldiers. I'll tell you a few things to add to what Gary said about him being a Vietnam vet. I'll give you a little bit of idea about this man's character. He's a double cancer survivor. And to see him out and about, you would never know that he's had any kind of adversity in his life. He's also a lecturer, historical reenactor, and he serves as a veterans mentor in the Veterans Treatment Court of the 10th Judicial Circuit of Florida. So he's carrying on that commitment to veterans. He also started in 2011 the Leaning W Outreach Ranch, which provides help to young people who are kind of not finding their way. And he also continues to work with veterans who are finding it difficult to reintegrate into our community. Richard is going to talk to us today about Buffalo Soldiers and some of his work with veterans. And a large part of what he's doing now is trying to educate the public about Buffalo Soldiers, their role in history, and what they have done for our country. So let me introduce Richard Wilder.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Rick, and everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I was trying to figure out whom he was talking about a few minutes ago. Before we get started, one thing I do want to say, I was really made to feel comfortable. That song, Home on the Range, made me feel comfortable because prior to coming here this morning, I had to clean 4 stalls, groom 4 horses, so sort of felt like I was still at home. So I want to talk to you just a little bit about Buffalo Soldiers. What I want you to understand is I am not here to romanticize Buffalo Soldiers, because that's what you hear all the time. But I want to take you back. Let's go back to the Civil War. As a matter of fact, let's start with the Confiscation Act of 1861. That's where the Union was able to confiscate all the Confederate properties. But they had in mind were the slaves. So with that, when the slaves, they had the opportunity to leave and escape. And when they did, the Union gave them a purpose to a degree. And you have to go back and look at these men and these women at this time. The majority were uneducated. And where were they to go when they left their slave masters? So they did leave. And they did join with the Union forces, and a lot of the women became washwomen. They washed the clothes and they became cooks. Some of the men even became spies. I portray a gentleman named Alfred Woods. He was a former slave, but he escaped with his wife. And then he in turn crossed back and forth the Confederate lines, getting information and bringing it back to the Union. This happened throughout the war. And can you imagine what would happen to an escaped slave when they were captured? They were given no quarter. But these men and these women constantly went back and forth across these lines to get information. So then in 1862, the Militia Act of 1862, very, very important for history. Because with that act, it allowed for the first time the Black man to be a part of the army, to be a soldier. But we have to look at the second part to that. They were also laborers. And Congress, when Congress was trying to figure all this out, because they were going back and forth, because you have to realize they didn't believe that the Black man could fight. But they forgot that the people that were taken from the continent of Africa, there were soldiers, not in the sense that we see it, but they were fighting men. So in 1862, the Militia Act, it allowed the black man for the first time to be a part of this military, even though it was meant to be as a laborer. The salaries at that time for the enlisted men was $13 a month. $13 a month. And then the government took $3 out for clothing allowance. So that left $10 a month. But when these former slaves joined the military, they were given $10 a month. And the $3 for clothing allowance was subtracted. That's $7 a month. That's almost less than half of what their white counterparts were getting. And that didn't sit well with a lot of these men. They protested, yes, but in a way where it didn't cause problems. And how did they protest? They stopped accepting pay. So in 1864, the military, the Congress decided that this was wrong. So the Militia Act of 1862 was reworded. That is the part where it says the former slaves would be laborers. That was stricken. So what happened during that time, during this time of the Civil War? These men who had joined the military, who had joined the army at that time, and let me digress for just a second, because you have to remember, the Navy at this time already had black men. They've been had black men in the Navy. So that was no big deal, but it was the army. So during this time, 1862 through 1865, these men gained experience. They did things that they've never done before. Some learned to read, some learned to write. And there were black chaplains during this time also. And what do you think their main objective was? It wasn't to preach the gospel, but it was to teach these men how to read and how to write. The first thing they was taught was how to write your name. And you can just imagine when you can take horizontal and vertical lines and curves and put these figures together to form words and letters. That was fascinating to these men. Fascinating. And you really have to grasp it and understand that learning something like this went down to their core, because then they were becoming a part of this new society to them, a part of this new country, because now they were learning. These men fought valiantly during the Civil War, valiantly. My organization also portrayed a unit in the Civil War called the 3rd United States Colored Cavalry. It was a cavalry unit made up of former slaves and free men during the Civil War. And they fought some of the major battles in the Mississippi Theater. If you study the siege of Vicksburg, if you look at the Battle of the Blackwater Bridge, it tells a whole lot. And these specific battles came after Fort Pillow, when the blacks were massacred. So they had a rallying cry, remember Fort Pillow. And even the white officers talk about how valiantly these men fought. So let's fast forward to 1866, after the Civil War. But prior to that, just let me say this. I am feeling constrained because I don't stand behind a microphone. You know, I like to move. And our lectures are interactive. If I'm saying something or you're looking at the PowerPoint presentation, because I don't talk from that, that's for your benefit. If you see something, if you have a question, raise your hand. I don't mind stopping. and answering your question if I can. If I don't have the answer, I'll just tell you right off, hey, look, I don't know, but I'll find the answer for you, okay? So look, feel free to join in. There'll be a Q&A afterwards, but join me, help me out. You know, I want you to be interested. I want you to be involved in this. So if I stand here and I act like I'm jittery, hey, I'm trying to stand in one place. So, okay. Well, look, 1866 was a really turning point for this country, not only for the blacks, but for this country, for the military. In 1866, the Army as we know it now was being reorganized. There were 10 new regiments being formed, and of those regiments, there were 6 regiments being formed of all black troopers. 2 regiments of cavalry, that's the 9th and 10th Cavalry, and 4 regiments of infantry, the 38th, the 39th, the 40th, and the 41st Infantry regiments. So what's so significant? Look at this. That's another first, because for the first time in the history of this country, the black man was allowed to be a part of the peacetime army in this country. That's very, very significant. Because if you go back to the Militia Act of 1792, it states that only white men could be a part of the army. Only white men. So you look from 1792 to 1862 with the Militia Act, and then again, the Army Reorganization Act of 1866. So these men did something that was historical. You have to remember too, at that time, this country really didn't have an army. Where are they going to get the men to fill those ranks? During the Civil War, there was controversy. Even in the South, they were thinking about making soldiers out of the slaves. I think that would have been a bad mistake. Huh? Why would you put a gun in my hand and you've been beating me all the time? Huh? Give me a rifle and a lot of ammunition, right? But let's look at this. Going back to the Civil War, these men had a lot. They felt they had to prove something. They had a mission. They had goals and objectives. And this passed right on to 1866, because after this Army Reorganization Act, approximately half of those blacks from the Civil War re-enlisted. So what do you have? You have fighting men who are veterans, veteran fighting men. And that's what this country needed. It needed strong warriors. But still, the belief was that these men were afraid to fight. They could not fight. They could not lead each other because there were no black officers at that time. But what happened? After the Civil War and these 6 regiments were formed, then the country had another problem on their hands. What in the world do we do with all these black men with all these weapons? Huh? No, that was a serious question in Congress and in the neighborhoods. What are we going to do with all these niggas here? That was the language. Huh? No one east of the Mississippi wanted the black regiments in their home. No one. So Congress is saying, what do we do? We need the numbers. We need these men. Because in the Civil War, the manpower was just depleted. There was more influx of runaway slaves than there were of white men volunteering to join the army. So by 1866, the military was almost depleted. So what happened? What do we do with these men? Well, the Apache and the Comanche were raiding on that Arizona and Texas border, having problems in Arizona. Hey, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to send these regiments west of the Mississippi. West of the Mississippi. I know all of us have heard about the Westward movement. Well, hello, huh? The Westward movement. We can't stay out east. We send them out west, and we let them deal with the problems. When you see John Wayne movies, 2/3 of those should be black regiments, but they have Big John Wayne, huh? And to tell you the truth, Big John Wayne probably wouldn't have been a cavalry officer because he was too big. A horse can only carry X amount of weight. Little guys like me didn't have a problem. Probably some would want to pack themselves so they'd be too heavy, But when you look at the situation that this country was in after the Civil War, had Reconstruction, that in itself was a problem in the East and in the South. But when you go west of the Mississippi, with gold, the minerals, who's going to fight these native peoples? And there, ladies and gentlemen, is where you have a conflict. You have two cultures. One culture, this is our land. We've lived here all our lives. This is our ancestral land. Then you have another culture. We've been slaves, beaten down, and now we've given a chance to earn our freedom and show that we can be a viable part of this nation. You got two conflicts. One is trying to keep their ancestral lands, and one is trying to prove themselves. So what do? There is a conflict there. That same conflict existed when I was in Vietnam. They asked us, hey, why are you black guys over here? Why are you doing this? You can't go home and go to the movies unless you go upstairs. So why? So that's nothing old. That has been going on. And this is the conflict, one of the conflicts that was encountered out west. But these men who were later called Buffalo Soldiers, and I don't call them Buffalo Soldiers in 1866 and 1867 and 1869 and 1870. Why? Buffalo Soldiers is a nom de guerre. That's a nickname, and a nickname is something that you normally earn. Am I correct? In 1866, the Buffalo Soldiers hadn't earned anything to do with Indians. They called themselves Buffalo Soldiers. What we look at during that time period is this. In that time period, 1866, 1867, because in 1867, the Union was still recruiting. That was a time where these men made history. And we look at them as being the first to join the peacetime army, getting the same pay, $13 a month, all the beans you can eat. Huh? So for us, Buffalo Soldiers, Florida, we look at that with significance. It wasn't until the mid to latter 1870s that this nickname, that this word, wild buffalo, came about. The natives didn't call the black troopers Buffalo Soldiers. That's a European term. They call them the wild buffalo. That's how they were called, wild buffalo. And there's so many different tales about how they earned their name. Just so many. And it basically comes down to this. They had the fighting spirit of the buffalo. They had the woolly hair of the buffalo. In the wintertime, they wore buffalo robes. Their fighting prowess had gone throughout the nations. And the native peoples looked at the buffalo for everything, their subsistence, everything. But they also knew that if you wounded one and you were in the way, well, turn around and kiss things goodbye because you're gone. And this is the way they felt toward the black troopers. But they called them wild buffalo. And even this nickname did not come into fashion until near the end of the century. And a lot of that came because of memoirs that were written by the wives, by troopers who were actually stationed out west. So what do we get from all this? You know, these men suffered, they sacrificed, they left their families with their hopes, making it good, coming back, and to be able to care for their loved ones, to bring them up to, please excuse me because I get so excited when you think about the hardships that you have in life, that you are cast out, that you are next to nothing, you're an animal, but you're given a chance to show yourself and to prove that you're a human being just like the next person. And these men were willing to leave their families, not only in the 1860s, but in the Civil War. They left their families hoping to make a better life that they can call them, say, hey, look, come on, let's go. This is what I have for you. This is what I've done. And there were so many who never returned to their families. But they had the goals, they had the ambition, they had the desire to do better for themselves. So one of the things that we talk about when we talk to the kids and we talk to adults, we talk about the importance of an education. We talk about the importance of setting goals. We talk about the importance of having respect for others, but most important, having respect for yourself so that you can do for others. Here in Lakeland, we are servicing veterans once a week here in Lakeland. The AMVETS and the VFW 802 out in North Lakeland, because they get no help out there. We have a service officer in Lakeland 4 times a month helping veterans. We counsel veterans in distress. You have veterans who do not want to go to the VA. They don't want to go to the vet center. They don't trust. So what we do, we talk to these veterans and we try to get them go to the VA, go to the vet center, go to these organizations. I have a veteran at my house at 6 o'clock in the morning. For the past 6 months, he comes. When I met him, he had mucus running from his nose and tears from his eyes. And he was that way for 3 straight days when I met him, but every day he was at my house at 6 o'clock. Because he knows at 6 o'clock, I'm outside with the horses. He's doing great now. He's doing absolutely great. We have another veteran, has a single parent. He was in the same position, but they are calling us and we are helping these veterans and in the Veterans Court. So what we are trying to do now is to put our resources right here in Lakeland. We can work with the VSOs, the other veteran service organizations, bring them together so that they can collectively, we can assist and help more veterans. We cannot do it on our own. So at this time, I may have gone on a minute, but at this time, if anyone have any questions, any comments? Yes, sir. Okay. The question was I was asked if I can explain a little bit about horse therapy. Well, we know that equines, that horses in themselves, they don't care who you are. They don't care what problems you have. But what we've found, and others has found, that if you put in your hands, just put your hands on the horse. It's not about riding, but just the act of putting your hands on the horses, rubbing the horses, has a calming effect over the whole body. I do it all the time because I need it. You know, no, that's not a joke. That's serious. I take on so many emotions, but with the horses have a way of dispelling that. You just have to trust them. You know, a lot of people are afraid. You know, when I see a veteran who's definitely afraid to touch a horse, and when they finally do it, they finally touch that horse, I make so much fuss about that. You think he want to because they've just overcome a fear. Huh? Now tell them, if you can overcome that fear, look what else you can do with your life. Any other questions or comments? Yes, ma'am. Okay, I've just asked to say a little bit more about the Veterans Court. The Veterans Court meets each Wednesday. And the veterans that come through there, we have to remember, you know, they're still veterans regardless of their reasoning for being there. And personally, as a mentor, I look beyond what brought them to court, because 9 times out of 10, and I've seen this, there's something that triggers these behaviors. Sometimes it's PTSD. You wonder, why is this alcoholism so bad? Why is drugs so bad? You know, spousal abuse, all these things. But going through that court, if we as mentors take our time and not just look on the surface, but they're felony charged for being in the court, but go back a little bit deeper, look at their background and see where they're hurting. That's the things that we do. See where they're hurting and try to, if you can fix that, if you can find that, then you can help set them on the road to recovery. But if you don't look at the underlying problems, it's going to continue to exist. So basically and I can only speak for me, I disregard what's on the surface. I don't care what they come to court for. It's none of my business, not tell them. But I want to know underneath, what is your pain? What is causing your pain? How can we help you alleviate that pain? And a lot of times, these veterans just want to talk. And I invite them out to my house, and we'll sit out by the round pen. I'll get 1 or 2 horses, just throw them in a round pen, and we just sit and talk. So it's a matter of being good listeners. Okay. I hope I've answered you. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Of just being thankful for the work that we do, so forth, and it's really gratifying because we don't really look at it like that. Only time I hear that is when we come to something like this, because it's just everyday work for us. It's really not even work. So I told a lie, you know. So it's really not even work. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir. No. The one, if you want to listen to Buffalo, so listen to the Persuaders. Go back and listen to the Persuaders. Listen to some a cappella. Don't forget about Friday and Saturday. I know if you heard about it. Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions or anything? If not, I really thank everyone, and everyone have a blessed and a safe day.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you, Richard. If anyone's ever questioned what passion is, I think we just saw it. I mean, he did that without looking. I know he had a notebook, but he didn't look at it. Not a single note, didn't refer to a single slide. And I've had the honor to hear Richard speak before, and you just do an amazing job. Thank you. So I do have a notebook for you. I don't know what you're going to write in it, but thank you, Richard. All right, next week's program is our Veterans Day program. I'd like to thank our guests, Kristen, Kyle, and Kyle. And the joke of the day. All right. A lot of booze today. I feel it. How can you tell the gender of an ant? Well, thank you, Mike. Well, you put it in water. If it sinks, it's a girl. If it doesn't sink, it's a boy ant. We are adjourned.